มาจะโลกาทิปติสหัมปติกัดอัญชลีอันทิวลังอายาจทาสันติทัสสัตตาปาราชาคชาติกาเทเสตุธัมมังอนุกัมปิมังปัจจัง
นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะบุตตังธัมมังสังฆังนะมัสสามิ So, there's a few things swirling in my head regarding tonight's talk. But we'll just start as the starting point, start discussing, reflection is it's a very familiar theme for Thai forest tradition, starts with Theravada, and because it is part of life, something that we don't think about, but something that's always in the background for each and every one of us. And it's something that, and occasionally it comes on more prominent, different things happen. And the theme is obviously death and dying, only because obviously this week I was supposed to go to a funeral for Sunny Jamal, who some of you may know has been coming to the monastery for many years, and he was very involved in the Buddhist Society of the Indonesian, for the Indonesian Buddhist Society. And he always, invite us every year to go to his group to do the Waisak and the Katina. And he was always, very helpful coming to support the monastery. They offer the freezer for us to use when the old one was broken. And I thought he was old, but he wasn't all that old. He's only 67 years old. And apparently his cancer came on very quickly. He was very energetic, very happy, high spirits when he comes. He was very friendly. And just a couple of years ago, he said, well, yeah, I've just got pancreatic cancer. And then, he came a few months ago, looking very, shrunken, but still good spirits. And then we got word that he passed away just last week. So then Ajahn Khemavaro ended up doing the funeral. And then also same with, we don't know her very well, but a friend of Dewey, sister-in-law, who's only 45 years old, also fairly healthy, and then all of a sudden you're in ICU because of some kind of sickness. And then she also passed away last Sunday. And tomorrow we have a family coming and to celebrate Batus, who is an older lady. She was like 91 years old when she passed away. She was one of the three ladies, obviously, who spent the rains with myself and Burma Bodhicitta when we were first here, the first rains retreat. She was 84 years old then. That was 12 years ago. And she came and stayed and practiced with us and helped in the kitchen because it was our first year, so we didn't have much support. Yeah, so I always remember Batu coming. And yes, obviously one is 91, one is 67, another one is in the mid-40s. And yeah, of course, each and every one of us, we like to think we'll, live to a ripe old age. But these things are very uncertain. And and death can come at any time. And the Buddha always said to reflect on death in a way that it brings, into our daily life. Because the part of delusion is that the ideas of permanency, that life, the body will go on. And I always say, it's good just to remember and keep bringing it back that yes, I might feel pretty healthy today, but it all can end very quickly. It brings back to us, that's not to make us scared or worried or anxious, but it highlights, what am I doing with my time? And what is really important in life? Ajahn Chah always said, if you don't understand death, life can be very confusing. And so much of the world, find ways to kind of distract us from our mortality. Things that get more comfortable. We live in a world that, obviously insulated from the weather. Now we can control the temperature of our and surroundings. Not just, but the switch of a switch, but we can program it and say something, and things will become as we like. The temperature, lights goes on, we can program all that. There's Siri or whatever, Google Homes that can make your coffee as soon as you wake up, just the way you like it. You can set up the food just before you get home, order everything just as you like it. And it's just the way, and it's, it's just obviously that's desire to control, to manage life, just to our likings. And it's what's underneath all that is because, obviously life is unpredictable. Life is uncertain. The world's uncertain. And instead of kind of accepting that, most people try to manage, to find ways to squeeze more comfort out of life. But a lot of times it's good to remind us, yes, I'm going to die one day. It doesn't make your life meaningless. Sometimes it gives it meaning. Yeah, I know I'm going to die. Maybe in 20 years, maybe tomorrow. But it doesn't affect that, I'm still going to try to wake up, go to my morning chanting, do what I can to maintain the monastery, spread the Buddhist teaching. Even though I know that, these things, buildings, I might not live to see the end of the terror, or it might fall down. But it doesn't matter, as long as we incline the mind towards the Dhamma, as long as we incline the mind towards wholesome states. And it gives focus. And sometimes Guru just reminds us, I'm going to die, so what does it matter? What am I doing with my life? How do I give it meaning? How to live in a way that is a positive effect to the people around us, to the world around us. Not just ourselves, but to what we left behind. What is our legacy? To build up fortune, build up things, but to live in a way that is, that's adding to peace and stillness, adding to kindness. And so that's part of, so I'm going to segue to this, but next is the next theme in the talk is stuck in Tari. Some of you might know that we were spent a good part of the week up in Tari. And obviously we all have a different perspective on this experience of ours. For myself, it's just, there were a lot of, shall we say, unexpected events, things that went wrong. The car broke down, and I'm ever an optimist, thinking it would be fixed, and it's always not fixed till the next day. And the thing that you can come back to is there are issues, there are problems. But I try to set up in a way that there's no such thing as a problem. There are only challenges. Yes, the car is broken, but we don't have to get unduly worried over it. It's going to get fixed eventually. And we can't get where we want to get. Well, yeah, it's not the end of the world. We did have a nice hotel to stay into, just to rest, to keep warm. And then we finally got to the property. It started raining. That's okay. Not the end of the world. And sometimes we reflect, we are quite lucky. We have the funds to go to a hotel. Even when we're in the property, when it was raining, we had tents to keep warm. And so much of the world, a lot of people don't have that luxury. Sometimes people are cold, animals are cold, they don't have things, and they get outside. So reflect on these things, you can see that, we've got our own personal sufferings, but we can see it in perspective that so much of the world is suffering around us, and that we're quite fortunate in the way that we've got plenty of food and shelter most of the time. And then whatever sufferings come up, so much it is projection and worry that what could wrong, and it doesn't go, doesn't go exactly as we want it. And it's a constant reminder for myself anyway. This week's a good weekend of things going wrong. But yeah, this is life. Things go wrong. People disappoint you. They can be difficult to work with, but it's not the end of the world. This is what happens. Welcome to life. And, we don't have to make a problem of things. We can learn to accept, to forgive, and move on. And there is no problems. There are no problems in the world. Only challenges. Only ways, situations that present themselves. How do I make skillful use out of this? How do I add to more peace? How do I not make a problem out of a car that's sitting in the garage that's not getting fixed? How do I not make a problem out of, getting stuck in a bush that is raining? How do I get a problem that the path is overgrown and you're running around, your feet's wet and it's being lacerated with lots of weed? It's like, okay, it's not the end of the world. It's just a bit of pain, a bit of bodily suffering. And it just reminds me that it's true, that we're kind of, some people think, blessed with this body, or cursed, that is a physical form that is so sensitive that we have to have just the right temperature, we have to be dry, we have to be clean, or we feel anyway, we have to have food. And it's so sensitive that you have to have the right sound. And it's just constantly feeling things, constantly likes and dislikes coming up. And that's just the nature of our sixth sense world, that, the fragility of our comfort zone. Sometimes because we're surrounded by comfortable things, that when we meet with things that are out of comfort zone, we can see that the mind starts to recoil from it. It starts to complain and whinge. But sometimes you look back and you're like, I always try myself, let's not make a problem of this. Let's work with this situation. How do I make best use of this? How do I learn from this? Sometimes it's just patient. Difficult situation, it's always an opportunity to be more patient. Sometimes people surprise you. You get there and the car's not there. Surprise. Tom was very good. He just sat down and started sitting. I'm like, where's the car? Where's that car? But never mind. Sometimes the cars aren't there. Sometimes the things aren't where you want them to be. That's not the end of the world. So, and it is through difficulties, through challenges, that we're learning to grow. Hopefully as practitioners, even if we lose our mindfulness, we can reflect on it. Yeah, how can I grow from this? How do I learn to not make a problem out of difficult situations? And how do I look at the positive side? Because there are always endless things that can go wrong. So you're out in the bush, what if you twist your ankle and no one finds you? And then might can all go that way. But a lot of times, we try to incline the mind towards more positive states. Yeah, these things can all happen when we're in the bush or when anywhere. We're in a kuti, the trees can fall down and you can get bit by a snake. And the mind can tend to that when it's anxious and fearful. But sometimes you can stay in the present moment. Yes, all these things can happen, but it may not happen. And all those scenarios that we play in our mind, a lot of times they don't happen. But in the present moment, we connect with the body, we learn to relax it. Things are fine, things are good. I'm here. I still have my health. I'm present. And that's good enough. And the mind starts to settle down, brings a clarity. And there's the beauty and enjoyment that starts to come up. That you don't have to go into the noise of the difficulties of life, what can go wrong. You can turn the mind towards more positive states. Yeah, we sit in our tent, we can say, well, it's raining, can't we get out? It's wet, whatever, it's cold. Or you can say, well, I'm in the tent. You sit and meditate, do a bit of chanting, and just celebrate the fact that, we're in a warm place. And it's good enough. You still meditate, you sit, and lie down. So it's always the positive thing to focus on. Because the world it has many aspects. The good, bad, and the ugly. But what you focus on, that is your world. Focus on what could go wrong, or the mean things people have done to you and said to you, or the kindness that people have shown you, or the beauties that you come across. And that's where, as practitioner, we have a choice. Where do we want our mind to go towards? You remember all the beauty, the kindness people show you, then your life the world is that, full of kind people, full of justice, full of beauty and peace. Remember the violence and injustice, and that's your world, a war between two countries, two nations, a war between yourself, people, your likes and dislikes. First practitioner, we're trying to, hopefully, as students of the Buddha, followers of Buddha, incline towards the wholesome, the positive. Because through that energy arises. Through that gives us inspiration to practice. Through that, we can focus the mind, become more clear. And then we can react, accept things, react more skillfully. Through that, forgiveness arises, acceptance, appreciation. The wholesome state starts to develop. The mind is happy and bright by itself. So as practitioner, we can always have a choice, remember that. A choice to see situation as learning experiences, to see life not as a problem, but as a series of challenges. To see the world in a positive, wholesome way. And that's why it's called the training. Sometimes it doesn't happen naturally for whatever different reasons of our conditioning, but something that each and every one of us can attend to. I always like it to like a muscles of the mind, muscle of the body. You've got to train it. It starts to grow. Yeah, it's achy sometimes, but it will grow naturally. As long as you don't give up, as long as you reestablish, as long as you're consistent with the practice, day in, day out. no matter what happens, I'm going to incline. I'm going to assume the best of people. I'm going to learn to accept and forgive. I'm not going to make a problem out of things. And then things, you see that those muscles of wholesome state starts to grow naturally. You find that, yeah, life is beautiful. The people do have the best intention. Yeah, we don't always act all the time. We're not perfect. People make mistakes from time to time, but that's okay. We can't, we're not always in control of our irritations, angers, or whatever. But we do have a choice of maintaining the practice, of focusing, of inclining the mind towards wholesome states. That remains the third theme of my rambling talk, is excuses. There are no excuses. The Buddha says there's no 8 excuses. Maybe there's 9th now. That, I have a big work project, so I can't meditate. I can't go to practice. I'm going to get sick, so I can't meditate. I'm going to have to go on a trip tomorrow. I can't meditate. Or I'm just come back from a trip. I might be tired, so I can't meditate. Ajahn not here, so I don't show up to meetings. The practice is consistency, guys. No excuses. You can always practice. Doesn't mean that you have to sit straight up and be in perfect samadhi. But I tried to, and I did get this encouragement from Tencha Kun Mahasamai and even Ajahn Pasano. He says, as long as he's in the monastery, no matter what happened, he's going to show up to the morning chanting, evening sittings. He's never ever in the monastery. The point is, it's a training. We don't have to be in perfect mental state or physical state to meditate. The point of the meditation is just to be with whatever's happening. Be with the tired mind. Be with the distracted mind. Be with the irritated mind. And see what that feels like. The practice is just to have this mindfulness, just to open the mind up, just to be with whatever's happening. That's where the training is. That's where the stability. Yes, sometimes you sit and you're tired and the mind won't settle. But that is what it is. What it is. It's the ability to accept things for the way they are. The ability to stay in the moment and have this spaciousness. That's where samadhi starts to happen. Stillness doesn't happen because you're in a forest and you don't hear any sound, you have earplugs on, or you sit in a really deep bunker, you don't get a rinse, and then you get and samadhi doesn't happen because then you have good health, or you have lots of energy, you have this nice nap, and that's why samadhi happens. Samadhi happens when we learn to accept things for the way they are. Sometimes you might think you're really tired, but the mind can really settle down by itself. As long as it's not there's this feeling, the reaction of I'm too tired to meditate, I'm too grumpy to meditate, I'm too sick to meditate. Meditation, samadhi can happen any time. As long as we have this faith, trust, ability just to let go. By letting go, by being present, by accepting whatever's happening, the mind will settle down on its own. As long as we don't fight it through irritation or through running away by wanting something else. As long as we are here, present, open, and acceptance. So whatever we're feeling, wherever we are, we can always practice by being present. And it's just not in meditation, but in life. How does it feel when you're irritated? How does it feel when you're annoyed? How does it feel when things don't go your way? It is just that much. It's just the feeling. Not pleasant, but not going to kill you. Not the end of the world. And we can learn to work with it. So those are the few reflections I just will start to offer for your practice, offer your own reflections on you know the impermanence of life, death, challenges that we face living life, and that we always have a choice towards more skillfulness, more acceptance, more patient, and that there are no excuses. We can always practice whatever situation we find ourselves, physically, mentally, internally and externally. We don't need, it's nice to have a good environment, but it's not necessary. And as practitioners, I think we know that we all have the potential to be at peace, whatever the external situation is, whatever the mental state is, we can be with that. And it's not getting the beautiful, blissful light. It's not hearing the heavenly sound that we meditate. That may happen from time to time, but it's not why. We meditate just to be, to accept, to understand happiness and suffering, to understand peace, understand, it's only understanding the irritated mind, the confused mind. The peace happens, not from running away. We don't meditate to run away from our confused mind or angry mind, disturbed mind. We meditate to understand that, to be with that, and to know that it's just a mood, just a thought, just a moment. They come and they go all on their own. That's why we meditate. So I offer those for your reflections tonight.